So I reiterate here, the bill is dead.
The story of this great city is about the years before this night. We are great!
Hey everybody, this is Ho Ho Hong Kong. Welcome to this podcast. I am your host Vivek Mahbubani along with my co-host, which is
Muhammad Magdi.
That is right. Okay, so if you ever want to follow me and you have not done so already, then just go to @funnyvivek with the letter M without the letter M. Sometimes, whatever, just find me online.
Isn't it like Kane Road /
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's finding me in the real world.
That's how I always find you.
Exactly. Yeah, you're the exclusive person I'm allowed to follow.
I was about to say the name of the building, but
that's okay. They can come to the building. My security guard is very well paid off.
It's phase 5, floor 63.
The only building with like multiple phases in Hong Kong.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You can already, if you really want to do your research, you can find it.
Yeah, it's easy, man. It's easy. I'm sure like someone's taking photos and like posted online. Google Map has like, this is his house. I'm like, come on, man.
Dude, I think I did an episode of the podcast with Turner Sparks, the Lost in America. And I don't know, I was just making a joke. And he's like, what's your address? And I just gave my full address. So his 5 listeners in the US already know my address.
And they're like, when I come to Hong Kong, I'll be
And now the listeners of this episode can go back on that episode and find my address.
Exactly.
If they really want.
Cross promotion, Mohammed.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing over here. Where can they actually find you if they aren't seeing you in person?
At the other Muhammad on Instagram. That's my main social media activity.
Yeah.
I think Twitter is for like old people.
Yeah, exactly. You have it there because you've had it there for legacy reasons,
exactly.
right?
It's literally, it hasn't been updated.
The only reason I started Twitter was when I had an event like, oh, what's your Twitter handle? We want to, what's word tag you? I don't know what they use, right?
It's kind of like the business card in like meetings when you're like, you feel inadequate. Like if you don't have a business card, you're like, all right, here's my Twitter handle.
Yeah. That's why I have a LinkedIn account, but I'm like, no.
It's so weird to have find a comic with a LinkedIn account.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, dude, we're doing comedy because we don't want to have a LinkedIn account.
Exactly, that's the point. It's like, I know you want to do the corporate gig, but I think this is not the method.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, but I see that's a very good topic to talk about because today we're going to be touching upon comedy from the other angle.
Yeah.
That is right. When we're not on stage or when you're at a comedy show and usually the audience is facing forward looking at the comedian.
Yeah.
But what's happening when they turn around other than, the bar or the toilets and everything? Like what's really going on over there? Now, you and myself, we produce shows.
Right.
We run shows. We had to deal with different comedians, you know, all sorts of egos / attitudes.
Yeah.
And I really want to get into like letting people know actually what does it take to run a show.
Yeah.
So why did you even start running shows instead of just doing them?
I think it was just like the natural progression back at Kung Fu Comedy days because I was there all the time because I had no social life and I had a job that I hated during the day.
Yeah.
So I would just go and do every show. Like even when I'm not booked on the weekend, I would just go and hang out. I literally had nothing else to do. And I was also doing open mic twice a week. And Zach, the guy who had my job before me, was just kind of like progressing, like phasing out of the club because he was about to move back to the US to San Francisco with his husband. So he got married and wrapped up in Shanghai and he was just moving. So I ended up kind of doing his job for like, I don't know how many months while he was just not around. And then eventually when he left, I just took over. It was very natural.
Yeah, because you already do the work anyway.
I was already doing the work. So like, can you help with the music? Can we help with the light?
Yeah.
Like stuff that we'll get into later. But I just like kind of learned the trick. And the good thing about Zach is that he's not a comic. So he doesn't have that ego. He doesn't want to be seen. He's also a very shy and quiet guy.
Okay.
So I learned from the best really because he just knows how to be in the back and just do things that impact the show without like going like, hey, look, I did that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm that other guy.
Comic comes on stage, like put the music back up for a bit.
Yeah,
so everybody knows I am still working.
Exactly. Yeah. Comic goes back on stage. I'm like, hey, I gotta laugh.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you do that. Yeah. So I mean, so it started basically like you were just there helping out, and eventually like, hey, I can do this myself. I can take over, and then it became your thing. Mm-hmm. And then I think that there's a certain like people say, when you have that bug, you're like, oh, I love comedy. I want to keep doing it. I think the same with doing shows. Just producing a good show, you're like, wow, that's a good feeling as well. That you managed to make sure this just flowed and there were no problems. And pretty much the best comedy show, so when I was studying university, my sound design teacher said the best sound design is when people don't notice it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the best comedy producers when people don't even know the show.
They don't even know what's going on. They just go and have a good show.
Yeah.
And just I think it's the same for most things though. Like the best people are the ones who are like just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And just make sure things go well.
Yeah.
the other thing that I think even comics who don't really produce shows, they learn a lot from being on the road, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, especially comics at our level, we're not like, massive. We don't have writers.
Yeah.
So you go to like, in my experience, you go to like Hangzhou or Suzhou, and I'm the headliner. There's a local guy. And I end up just also producing the show.
Yeah.
Because the bar is like, all right, here's the bar and here's the audience. Good luck.
Do something.
Do something. I'm like, there's a piano on stage.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't want that? I'm like, no.
Why?
Why
We
would I
don't
do-
need props, man.
Yeah, it's also like in center stage. Like before that, they had
yeah.
a comedy, like a music act.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to move that. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So next time I go there, I'm like, I know piano on stage not good. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
learn like little by little. Also, like sometimes, in those dark days in central China when you're touring, people are smoking all the time. People are facing each other. So things that you might not necessarily, someone might have not told you, but you're like, that's not good.
Yeah, that can help.
Yeah, that can help.
Yeah.
And then you're like, can we do this? And then it goes much better. You're like, oh, that's a trick.
Yeah, so I think that's it. It's like part of the survival mechanism that comics have, where after a while you're like, okay, so I need a light on my face.
Exactly.
That could help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had so many of those where I'll do gigs, let's say not even private gigs, just like different venues.
Yeah.
You go there and like you're like, somehow this room doesn't feel right. What am I missing over here? Then you learn, lighting.
Yeah.
Then you learn about the different light temperatures. You're like, I need a bit warmer, yellowish. And you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I have to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really just a matter of like, not quality control, but like survival because you're the one on stage.
Yeah, exactly. And also, when things are not going well and you're dying, people don't notice it's because your mic is screwed. It's because you're dying on stage.
Yeah.
And they just don't make that connection that, that comic is good, but the circumstances are terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think I might have mentioned that on a very early episode, but the worst gig I've ever done was in Bangkok, Thailand. It's the final of the international competition there.
Yeah.
And it's in Hua Hin, which is like the resort where the king hangs out, basically. And the bookers, for some reason, decided to have the final there. The prelims in Bangkok were amazing. Great venue, very tight run. The Hua Hin one was like one of these resorts where just white people go to find like young Thai chicks.
Yeah.
So, and it's on the second floor of this bar that is half outdoor, half indoor. Everyone in the audience doesn't know there is a show. Even they just got swindled into buying a ticket with their lunch. Yeah. So they're like, oh, you have tickets for the show. They're like, huh? And also we flew in from all over Asia. Us like at competitions, we're so nervous.
Yeah.
We're taking it so seriously. And we go there. I'm like, listen, man, I'm one of the competitors. Like, I'm not the producer, but I'm telling you, we got there at like 4 or 5 p.m. Shows at 8. I'm like, this is not gonna be a bad show. This is gonna be a no show.
Yeah.
You understand that you can't have a show like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, so half of your venue is outside when there is a street and noises and tuk-tuks and hookers and all kinds of stuff. Your audience don't know there is a show. There is also the stage, quote unquote, is a pool table that we have to stand on while they cover it. And there's football, like a football game blasting on 5 screens around us. And the venue is refusing to turn the TVs off.
What?
Yeah. So I basically had a fight with the promoter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sorry, I don't mean to, be a big shot, but I can't do the show like this.
Yeah.
And then I riled up all the other comics to start talking. They're like, all right. And then we took the fight with the venue owner and we basically threatened to leave. And then the venue owner's like, all right, what do you guys want? Or like, move the fucking pool table.
It's simple.
We moved the pool table, convinced him to put the TVs on mute, not to turn it off. At least the TVs were on mute.
God forbid they can't see what's going on in soccer.
We couldn't close the doors to the outdoor area because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we managed to perform to the people in front of us who are like 5 tables, and then there is 30 other tables outside who are kind of listening, kind of not.
Yeah.
And I won that competition just because it was survival of the fittest. It wasn't because I was a better comic. I wasn't actually, because I was pretty young. But I had the production value, like the production experience more than other comics. So I know where to look in the room and who to kind of like just completely ignore. And that's how I ended up like everyone else. Some people had better sets than me, but it just didn't work because they didn't have that experience.
Like they're used to like the comedy club is proper.
Exactly.
I just go there, I do my set.
They
People
went
are
on
paying
autopilot.
attention.
That's right. Yeah. So they got distracted very easily by the noises outside. I think I addressed also firsthand how terrible the venue was, and I was the first comic to do that.
Yeah.
So the audience like, okay, this guy's good.
What were you in the order? Which number?
I was like 3 or 4 out
so
of
there
like
were 2
8
comics
or
who
9.
were just like, let's just ride it through, but nobody needs to point it out. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And they both died really hard. So I think like I was pretty early on the lineup, third, but I was the first one to first get one laugh.
Yeah.
And second, to address how terrible the venue is.
Yeah.
And how, we're all so nervous when everyone in the audience doesn't even know there's a show going on.
Yeah.
But still, by far, the worst show I've ever done.
Yeah, I think that definitely would motivate you. Number one, that whatever your shows you run cannot be of that level for sure. That's not even a benchmark. That's just like that will never happen, right? Right. And I think number two, that also gives like a lot of reality to comedians where then they learn to appreciate it.
Yeah.
There are so many comedians who just come to a show and be all like sit in the corner like, yeah man, I did my set. It's like, well, there's a lot more to the show than just you doing your set and sitting in the corner, right? Yeah. But I think the one thing I appreciate is when a producer comes up and makes it a point that like, I want you comedians not to worry about anything. Yeah. And I will handle it. If there's any issue, don't you get up and try to deal with it. Your job is to go on stage. Yeah. And that's really hard because so many show producers, they'll think, okay, well, if someone's heckling, the producer's like, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to stop him? It's like, you decide. Yeah. Don't make me be on stage and make a decision for you.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Like, especially with like small shops like all over Asia, the producer or the promoter sometimes they want the performers to do all the work, not just on stage, but also like, oh yeah, if there is a heckler and they can see that you're stressing on stage and it's getting uncomfortable, they expect you to just fight them? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to be polite to the heckler, hoping, come on, producer, like get up and pull them away. Why are you not? I don't want to say it. Don't make me say it. Yeah. There's that.
And the other side is like also the promoters around Asia, especially, where they just expect the headliner to just promote the show themselves as well.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
I don't know if you're getting the hint here, but it's a promoter who rhymes with Falun Gong.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a lot of those, and exactly like you would assume, okay, this all seems proper. Yeah. This has been running for a while. I'm sure this person knows what they're doing, and you get there, you're like, so you don't like this is what you do? Wait, hold on a second. This doesn't make sense. And that's the worst thing because like the last thing you need is like just before your show, some technical difficulty that they can't seem to solve, and you're sitting there going like, I know how to solve this. Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be me.
Don't make me do it.
Don't make me do it. Yeah, because if I do it, it's gonna be my fault. Yeah. So I had a gig in Discovery Bay like many years ago, and it was at a bar, I forget which one, and like their soundboard was just not working right. So the mic was not loud enough and everything, and like when they were making it louder, the feedback was coming in, and I was like, oh man, okay, like I know what to do, but I don't want to do it, right? Yeah. Eventually, I was like, I can't just sit here and just watch it sink. And I do it, and they blame me.
Oh my God.
I remember, and they were like, why did, it sounds terrible. I'm like, I didn't, what?
Yeah, it was worse before.
Yeah, it was worse before. Like, this is the best I could make it happen, right? And then so after that, I got a bit annoyed where I was like, oh, you know what? Either I produce a show, or when I'm there, I'm just gonna be like, well, too bad. If I know you, I'll help you. If I don't, you're on your own, man.
Yeah. So, it's also like, it turns bad. It's always on your record. Like if you go to a private gig and everything is terrible and you're tanking and people are like, oh, this is a bad gig, it's like, yeah, you didn't do your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Like my job is to come here and perform. Yeah. If you give me, it's like, it's like a surgeon. Like you don't just expect them to perform. Yeah. If you don't like, sanitize the room and give them the anesthesia guy and all of that. It's like otherwise they're like, oh yeah, the guy died. I'm like, no fucking shit, the guy died.
Yeah, what do you want me to do? Nothing was sanitized. What do you want me to do? Like, duh.
Yeah, you give me a bone saw.
Exactly. Yeah, that wasn't even rusty. Like, what do you expect, man? He didn't even have
a terrible surgeon.
Exactly, right. He didn't need a tetanus shot until he came for surgery. Then he needed it, right? Oh, God. So, there's those. And that will bring you to the time when you started producing your first show. Like, I remember when I forget which show it was, but it was probably one of the Cantonese shows where we decided to just run it. And I'm one of the type of guys that I'm more than happy to kind of investigate, like, okay, what's light? Right. What is the right light? Why this light? And I'll go, obsessively study about it. Yeah. And then so I would learn like, oh, this room is like a cold, what they call like, a cold blue light. Yeah. And so like, you can kind of feel like everything just feels like a little bit, colder. Like I just don't know why, but everybody feels a bit far away. Versus like the spotlight. So we did a show at the Black Box, right? Theater Black Box with like spotlight, bam, right? And you think like this is supposed to be perfect. Yeah. And it's way too serious. Right. And people are expecting to like, life is not, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is terrible. I remember because like the first time I did one of these big theater black boxes, I was like, yeah, spotlight is not good. Yeah. We need everything to be
when it also like follows you when you move around.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one thing if it's like, a light that's following you and everything else is kind of lit up. But this is like the James Bond,
No, that's not good.
You don't want that. It's like, why?
I think one big theater act came to Shanghai and asked for that, and I was opening for him, and the gig went really well, but like I was so uncomfortable the entire time. Not just that, it's also hot. Yeah. No matter how far that light is, it's super hot.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, we're used to like the lights being too bright, and it's okay to kind of be blind. But I know like they can't see anything else around me, and it's way too much focus on you.
You kind of go like, oh, every
Yeah.
word. They're gonna see every movement I've got.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. So that's why like when I do a lot of these gigs, I tell them, okay, first of all, before I even go there, like, what's your setup? I just want to know if you're unable to answer me.
Yeah.
Then if it's a paid gig, I'll go and venue check and everything.
Yeah.
If you're unable to answer me and it's not a paid gig, I'm like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
You go rent it. You go figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm telling you, there's no point me coming there doing a mediocre job and be like, well, I gave it my best shot.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this wasn't a great show. I'm like, I want it to be a great show.
Yeah.
If I'm there, it better be a great show.
This is something I actually learned from you. We did a couple of gigs together, and when I saw some things from you as a headliner, when you just pay attention to some details that all of these years I missed completely, I'm like, so you take responsibility even when you're not producing it and you're just headlining the gig.
Yeah, I think that's always been because I have my own quality standards that I want to hit.
Yeah.
And I think it also is part of that's my brand, I want to make sure if I'm doing it, it's of that quality.
True.
So it brings me back to like the producing of shows where when I first started like with the Chinese scene, so we would do shows and we just get like a small little 4-channel mixer and and it's easy, right? And we would try our best whatever we could. But I was like adamant, I'm like, the mic has to be a Shure SM58.
Yeah.
Right? Number one, because it's classic.
Yeah.
Number two, because it's durable. You can smash this thing and it won't break.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get like a nice...
So all the rock stars still use it after like, how old is that mic? Like
exactly.
really old.
Yeah, the one you're using is SM58 right there. And
Yeah,
it's been
same.
smashed.
Like every venue I've ever run, all the mics were SM58.
Exactly,
Like you see like Metallica, they can have like the most expensive... It's SM58 is not even that expensive.
Yeah.
It's just durable.
Yeah.
And you see them doing crazy stuff and rolling it with the wire
fling
around.
They don't care. Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. So those small things, I'm like, guys, please, like, I understand you can get like a very clear vocal with the highs and everything, but just get this mic.
Yeah.
Let's be done. Then also number two, like, I'm really big on wired mics. Like, nothing drives me more than wireless.
Yeah.
Because I get so freaked out. I'm like, oh God, they're gonna have bad
Oh
reception
man,
somewhere
we
there.
had Gadel Male, who's obviously did you open for him here?
No,
Someone
I
opened. Might have been Ryan or someone. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I opened for him in Shanghai. And that was my first theater gig ever. Like the biggest gig I've done before that was the Hong Kong International Comedy Festival final at Cyberport, which is like 400 people, which is still pretty big, but it's not a theater gig. And it's a competition, not like a headliner opening spot. So I opened for Gadel Male. I'm super excited. I have 15 minutes and my wireless mic cut out like 10 times during my set. To the point when not just that I addressed it, everyone can see it. I can see with the corner of my eye Gad's team freaking out on the side of the stage. And I had to stop the show and walk across the stage to pick up a different mic.
Yeah.
Because no one was helping me. I can just people having a meltdown in the back. The audience can't see it. I can just see it with the corner of my eye. I'm still trying to do my act.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and then at some point I just made a call. I'm like, I'm sorry, everybody. Just clap for a second. I'm going to go get a mic. And that was hellish.
Yeah.
And he had the spare mic. So I changed it twice. And by the second time, it was kind of okay. The last 5 minutes, I closed well. I gave him the mic. I basically brought him up, gave him the mic, and then his mic started cutting out.
Oh, God.
And it was horrible. Obviously, he's a very, very experienced act. So he addressed it. Like, he made jokes about it.
Can't be the first time for him, I'm
of course.
sure. Yeah.
But he also asked the same thing. That's what reminded me of this whole thing. He asked for a wired mic.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop the show, wired mic right now.
Yeah.
And then he's also a very physical
comedian.
act because he's an actor.
Yeah.
So he would like pretended that it's coming from the ceiling and it's like this old gig, and then he joked about how he's being censored because it was in Shanghai.
Yeah.
He killed it.
Yeah.
But it's like that's also the value. It's like just give us a wired mic.
Yeah,
Don't get fancy.
Yeah.
Just
I tell a lot of venues, they're like, no, but why is so inconvenient? I'm like, it's my problem if I trip, right? So let me worry about that.
Yeah.
Like the security you give me by giving me this wire is way more important than whether I'm going to trip over the cables.
Yeah.
Okay?
And also a lot of our acts, sometimes you have an act out, like you have the wire, you can play with it.
Yeah. It's
Even when you get nervous, you can sometimes hold it. It gives you a little bit of security.
Yeah.
You can do so many things with it. It's just better.
Yeah. So
and you
that's
don't want the batteries running out, like hanging over your head.
Yeah. Because every time I have to be like, look at the wireless mic. Okay, it's on. Is it on standby or is it green light or yellow light? I don't want to touch that light by mistake. And battery's like 2 out of 3. I don't know. So that's okay. So anybody who's listening right now and they're like, oh, I could do shows. Okay, lesson number 1.
Yes.
Be professional. Get a wired mic. Okay.
Yes.
As much as wireless looks beautiful and everything, get a wired mic. Comedians will appreciate it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if a comedian tells you like, no, I prefer wireless, I'm like, oh wow, okay. This is very interesting. Like I really want to know why. There must be a reason, unless they're just for the convenience factor.
Right.
That's one. Number 2 with lighting. Like you and I think we both agree that we're not the spotlight kind of like put me in a spotlight in this round circle following me around. We want that little faded face light, right?
Yes. I think for a club, for a club level, I think it's for me it's perfect, kind of like what we had at the Riff, which is like the whole stage is lit up basically.
Yeah.
And then everything else is black. I'm
Correct.
fine with that. But it's not like a direct spotlight. We basically had 2 floodlights from the 2 sides.
Yeah.
Which they were TV grade lights. They were amazing.
Yeah.
But they're basically kind of crossing over on stage, and it's 80% of the stage was very lit up.
Yeah.
So even if you're standing in the corner, people can see you well, and then everything else is just black.
Yeah. Exactly.
For me, that's
then
perfect.
It's super focused.
Yeah.
You're not distracted like, oh, look at that corner over there.
Exactly.
This is happening.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I tell people is that when you come to a comedy show, just for your own, if you've been to like 10 shows, then you can play a game for yourself where you start noticing like, okay, how's this show being produced? What quality are we at?
That's actually a great idea. If you're a listener who's come to comedy shows a lot of different venues, just start like playing the production game.
Yeah.
When you go like, oh, okay, I wonder what's happening here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things I talk to people like, placement of the speakers, what type of speakers do they have the bass on the floor and all that, but that's way too technical.
Yeah.
But the lighting itself is a very good thing where if you have a venue that has a nice, basically yellowish but not completely yellow light, the warmest, like I say, what we call like 4,500 Kelvin or whatever.
Yeah.
That light is like a nice warm, like, hey, you're friendly. You somehow just feels comfortable.
Exactly.
Right? So those kinds of
Yeah,
things.
you don't want the fluorescent hospital light either.
Exactly. Like sure, everything's very clear, but I don't want to see this so clearly.
Yeah.
Right. So you have those. So that's another thing. Like if you're like say trying to choose between 2 shows, that's something worth considering. If you've been to the venue, that venue, it was really comfortable. The lighting, everything was good. Then chances are, even if the comedians were, let's say, 90%, they would be 100 thanks to the environment as well. So there's that as well.
Yeah, you give them an environment that helps them succeed.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for like maybe a football game or something. Like when you don't give them place to train, like we can get into the green rooms as well at different venues.
Oh yeah, that's gold as well. Yeah.
But I think it applies to a lot of things when you're helping. You want them to succeed. You don't want them to just struggle and make their life difficult.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, if you're listening, and this is basically Mohammed and myself who actually produce shows, run shows, perform at shows. Sometimes I have to go save shows. Like you're not on the lineup, and you're like, oh my god, this is tanking. I better do something. Yeah. Like I'm just gonna go up there and do 5 minutes or whatever. Yeah. Right. Or
many times we're both at gigs, and one of us is producing a gig, and they look to the other person like, all right, you're up next. I'm I'm just watching.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to do this way. Yeah. And you just have, because like it's, especially if you're seeing the gig tank because you're like, oh, the comics are just not hitting it. You're like, oh, we cannot let this go because it needs some little kick to the whole event.
And I think as a producer, you also feel the responsibility that you're like, if you're able to do something, I'll just do it, even if it's not my show.
Yeah. You're like, I can't be here. I cannot just watch it. Yeah. Oh,
I think we take some level of enjoyment though when we watch other comedians tank on stage. There's obviously 2 different sides. The comic and us are like, that's funny.
Yeah. But they're tanking because the material sucks. I'm like, okay, I'll laugh at that.
I know.
But if they're tanking because the mic is coming out, I'm like, I'm like, that's not fair, man.
No, that's not fair.
I mean, he would have tanked if they heard the punchline anyway, but I needed that to happen. That's not fair. So that's the thing. So speaking of like helping when you don't need to help, we actually have a Patreon as well.
Oh,
so go to patreon.com.
Great segue. You really don't need to do this, but please.
Patreon.com/HoHoPod. Become a subscriber and support us. I mean, look at us. We're here producing shows so everyone can have a good time.
Yep.
Sometimes we have to go save shows, and sometimes the podcast can run dry, and we need you to suddenly just press that button of subscribe monthly, and we get that alert. We're like, hey, let's.
Sometimes we need an Uber to get from one gig to save the other gig.
Exactly. So if
at
you're
an unknown club in Soho.
Exactly. Because like the last thing you need is a show producer to do the show hungry. If we didn't have the budget to buy dinner before the show. So again, patreon.com/HoHoPod.
I like to get my dinners from Mana. I don't know about you.
Same here, man. Yeah, with the exclamation mark. Mana! You definitely want that. So that's another thing. So the next thing I want to talk about, the behind the scenes part, is dealing with comics. I'm sure a lot of people who do any sort of work that deals with people knows, attitudes, egos, this problem, that problems.
Sure.
Have there been any like sudden issues where like at the show you're like, what? No, not right now. Let's deal with this later.
So I think that goes into the difference. So I think to establish that, we need to also establish for people who might not know the difference between a producer and a promoter.
Yes.
Right. So those are 2 different jobs. Most of the time in small scenes like Hong Kong, they're basically the same person. Like myself, I'm basically both.
Correct. Yeah.
So producer is the person who makes the show happen, as in the technical stuff. Make sure the mic is all of these things that we touched on. The promoter is the person who books the show. Yeah. Actually, there is 2 different jobs. There is a booker and a promoter.
Yeah.
But also, again, in small scenes, they're basically the same person.
Yeah.
So that's the person who puts the show together, as in plan the show, book the comedians, sets the lineup, give them set times, and who goes on last, and all of that. So obviously, as a promoter / booker, you deal with a lot of egos because comics are just we're just egos walking around.
You put someone as the opening act, they're like, why am I the opener? You put someone with 7 minutes and the guy behind them has got 8, they're like, hey, what's going on? You have that. Then you've got sometimes where it's kind of weird where you want to put like a strong person to start the show, but at the same time you don't want to start the show way too strong because the other comics are like,
it's such a dance. It's a balance, right? So it depends, obviously. Like when you have a headliner show, it's a good example because if your headliner is very strong, very reliable, you can actually kind of like have some risk on the opening act side because you can have a newish guy in the middle, but you don't want to start the show too weak because even though if it gets to the headliner, the headliner is going to do well, the audience might have already lost faith in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So actually when we book the tour, the touring gigs, like the people coming from the US or whatever, the first host, like if someone is a new host, that's the first gig we give them.
Yeah.
So the hardest gig to host is the open mic because that's all of the work.
Oh yeah.
The host is basically doing everything.
Yeah, because everyone's probably tanking. And
yeah, but when you have Mark Normand coming in, people are gonna love Mark Normand regardless. So you can have a newish host.
Yes.
Just make sure that one of the opening acts is good enough.
Yeah.
That people don't hate you as a producer or a promoter before Mark Normand comes up.
Yeah.
So for local headliners, again, it's like a newer guy. Like for example, we just had Ask James headline. He did fantastic, but it's his first time headlining.
Yeah.
And we had this joke. He's like messaging me. He's like, "Why is my opening lineup all headliners? Also, the strongest comics in the city." I'm like, "Because you're headlining. It's your first time headlining.
Yeah.
So even if you're a new guy and you tank, people still got to see like 60 minutes of decent material."
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the challenge because like in a way you're like, well, you don't want the show to be too heavy in the beginning and the quote unquote headliner is now struggling. But at the same time you're like, well, baptism by fire. Like this is how the game is.
Exactly.
If you're the headliner, be the headliner.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I learned from I think Butch Bradley once said to me, he was like, if you're opening for someone, a headliner, your job or you try to do is like to make the headliner shake.
Yeah.
And when he told me that,
them, basically,
yeah, right. And I was like, that's really mean, but I like it. I was like,
no, I love it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's also like you will see me trying harder if I'm like really close with the headliner.
Yeah, you're like, I want to watch you work now.
Yeah, exactly. I try harder when I just want to mess with them. I'm like, I'm just gonna close on my A material just to mess with you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They're like, shit, I have to follow that.
Yeah, and they should be able to. And if you're headlining a show, you've been to that level now.
Yeah.
That's another thing as well, that as a producer, promoter, booker, whatever, you also kind of have a responsibility to help build the scene.
Sure.
Or kind of, encourage comedians to get out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
So lucky for me, because I do a lot of the Cantonese shows, and now that the Cantonese group at least is matured enough that where they can produce a lot of their own stuff.
Yeah.
Before it was like, okay, you know what? I want you to just basically go second last and do like a heavy 10.
Yeah.
Or I want you to host. Like, oh, but I've never hosted. I'm nervous. I'm like, just go. If you die, someone will be at the end to clean it up.
Exactly.
Don't worry. And you have to push them.
Yeah.
Right. So you have that responsibility, and at the same time, would you say that the challenge is also dealing with like some comedians who get stagnant? You got the comedians who like the same set for 10 years. You're like, come on, guys. Like,
that's difficult because at the end of the day we're all friends. That's also like, I wish I was kind of like producing or promoting a show where I'm just the booker or the producer.
Yeah, I don't
where I
care.
can actually get to tell people what to do without having to be like, hey man, what the fuck? We thought we were cool. I'm like, but this is also my job.
Yeah.
Literally, you're making me lose money by doing the same exact set that kind of doesn't work sometimes. Again, I'm like, can you just try and fail? That's completely fine. I want to see you fail, but at least with new material. And obviously it depends on the person. Some people get it and some people are like, I know. But the way I personally handle it is that when I see someone kind of lagging behind, I put all the comics who are writing new material with them on the lineup,
so
just around them.
Oh yeah,
you feel so much pressure.
Yeah,
and it has been working the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, open mic nights as well. When you go there, you're like, man, everyone's got new stuff. I'm gonna make something up right now. Like, go do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just that half idea that you had about the MTR, just do it without a punchline. See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. You might suddenly make something up with the pressure of being on stage.
Exactly. I've come up with a lot of stuff under pressure on stage because, especially open mic, when you just kind of like go like half baked idea.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know, and then like people laugh at like a weird thing that I said, I'm like, oh shit, that's it.
Yeah,
that's the weird thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I never realized this is actually funny. I thought it was just normal. Like my brain is,
Yeah, and a couple of times like this happens, and I start laughing at it with them.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh shit, that is funny.
Yeah, and there you go.
Yeah.
So that's actually the process. So yeah, I mean, that's what I tell people is that, you know, the comedy show is not just like we're just doing the show. Like the scene, I think a lot of comics, there's some comedians who just love coming to the show. That's just fine.
Yeah.
Right? There's some comedians who also feel a responsibility towards the scene of like, I want to see the scene grow. Like, I really appreciate when the scene is growing. I have no problem with having competing shows. You know, you there and I'm here.
Completely fine.
And I bring it. Because if anything, it forces you to like, okay, now
let's
we're
step
on.
up. Yeah.
It's on, you know, that we have to be able to not make take the same piece of the pie. It's like make the pie bigger.
No, I'm not interested in that either. It's not about like who is I think it's just like every man for himself, but at the same time we all have the same goal, which is to have a great scene.
Yeah.
Like exactly, of course I want my shows to be good, but also if I'm seeing another show doing a lot better than me, I'm not gonna be like screw that guy. I have to be like, all right, what are they doing that I'm not? Let me try to catch up.
Yeah.
And the comics are, you know, everyone is they also want to play the best gig, right? So if I'm seeing someone, let's say on Tuesday nights that has just been killing it, and my Saturday shows are struggling, I'm like, all right, that's like I have the advantage here. What am I doing wrong? And the comics are gonna go play the good gig anyway.
Yeah. I mean, so that's another thing is a consistency of like your brand.
Yeah.
You know, as a show producer, that when people come to your show, you know you've done a good job when people come not knowing the lineup.
Exactly.
And they just know, this brand, we're going to have a good time.
Exactly. Yeah, we reached that in Shanghai after so many years, but it was such a proud moment for us when literally people came in. They don't even know which night is which anymore between open mic and a weekend show.
Yeah.
And they come in on Friday. They're like, oh yeah, we're here on Wednesday. We liked it so much. We thought it's another open mic. We're like, oh, it's a paid gig. They're like, we're happy to pay.
Yeah.
We had so much fun at the open mic. We don't care who's headlining or who's the lineup. I'm like, yes. They just come, like Kung Fu comedy for them. That's the comedy night. They just want to go to a comedy show, which is what you hear about in the comedy cellar, the comedy store.
Yeah.
Like obviously you can, you know, if you see like Jerry Seinfeld on the lineup, you would want to go.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's just like, you know, it's just gonna be a good show. You just book the comedy night between 7 and 8:30 or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's another dynamic I really like. I think in the States, it's basically you just come down, you stay as long as you want.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
I think the comedy
cool.
store, like there's no cover after 11 or something.
Something like
and
that,
they run until 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
if you're there from the 7 p.m. show, you can just stay.
Yeah.
And just watch. Everyone has 15 minutes, and you just keep watching.
Yeah. And I remember when I was in the States going, I think it was a comic strip or something. I was sitting there, and Comedy Cellar. I remember. I was there watching, and I'm like, so I can still stay here, but my brain is like, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, enough comedy. And I was like, I can't believe I've had enough
How
comedy.
long have you stayed for?
I probably was like 2 hours already.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's a lot, man.
This is actually another side that takes us to a really interesting point is the length of the show.
Yeah.
Because like I think it's the same as a classroom, right? Like or like people say like people who give lectures or whatever, the perfect time for people to keep people's attention is 90 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Anything above that, you're already pushing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know,
even if it's great stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, obviously there are exceptions, like Dave Chappelle sometimes bumps everybody and does 4 hours.
Yeah.
But that's also like, you know, a genius. Talking.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
His
if
pacing
Jesus
is different.
came after 90 minutes, you won't be like, hey Jesus, we're checking out. We need a coffee right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly. So there's that. I mean, the length of the show is important because, as you said, people get fade out. And I used to use an example of like a buffet. The food is still just as good when you started.
Yeah.
But now you're not appreciating. You're wasting the food, if anything.
That's right.
Right. You're just forcing it down for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like 90-minute show, I tell people actually when we do private events, sometimes like, we want to book you for an hour. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You
don't know.
Yeah. No, but we want to. I'm like, I can quote you, but I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna waste your money / waste my effort.
Exactly.
And like, no, but we want an hour. I'm like, okay, I need to explain to you how this works. Okay, people are not coming to your event to watch comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy is like a little side secondary something's going on as well. Whereas the comedy show is like, I'm here for comedy, so give me an hour and a half. I'll do that.
Yeah.
So those are the small dynamics that people need to understand, that the reason why a comedy show can have like 90 minutes because you're there for that.
Of course.
You got like 10 different comedians.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have one guy doing an hour at a corporate, Friday afternoon.
Yeah, when they're already there to like eat food and you know, socialize and, you know, pay charity or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you don't want the whole thing to be about comedy, and they're gonna be like, all right, this is taking too long.
Yeah,
this guy, even if it's like an amazing act.
Yeah, still they're like, I have stuff like an hour is a long time on a Friday afternoon.
It's very long.
Yeah.
I literally have a gig coming up when I have exactly the same conversation. It's a charity show.
Yeah.
We agreed, I agreed to do it, And they're like, all right, can I do an hour? I'm like, nah, I'll do 30 minutes. They're like, all right, what is your fee? And I give them the fee. They're like, all right, we'll double that, do an hour. I'm like, no.
It doesn't work
Still
that way.
no. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
yeah. So that's what I mean. And those are when you have some comedians who have to also draw the line as comedians yourselves. So I think that's the issue, is that as a producer, promoter, booker, whatever, you have to kind of have that thing, okay, this type of show, if I were to run it, like people sometimes will book you, hey, just make a show happen at this venue, right? And you got to give them the idea of like, okay, so this is how it should be. This is what we need. And they're like, oh, okay, I never knew that. I mean, I'm sure you'll even have people saying like, so how much should we sell tickets for? You're like, up to you, but
it's also like people ask me that sometimes in different countries. I'm like, I've never even been to your country.
I don't know how much people pay over there.
Exactly. I'm not familiar with your market at all. They're like, do you think $15 is too much for Japan? I'm like, I don't know, man.
I don't know what the consumer index is over there. Yeah.
Maybe it's the price of a plate of sushi or something. That's too cheap.
I have no idea. Man. Yeah, maybe
if it's up to me, charge $100. I don't care.
Exactly. I mean, people might pay $15 for one sushi, but maybe not for comedy. You get it? It might be different value. Like, I'll pay for that slice of salmon, but this is maybe $1.
Not the hairy guy.
Not happening, man. So yeah, that's again like a lot of the behind the scenes of what happens at comedy shows that people don't really notice. And that's the thing I really want to touch upon mostly is that when we have bad shows or you've produced shows and things are just not working out, what is your methodology? Like, for example, myself, like, let's say I see a show and I cannot just sit there and be like, all right,
watch the ship sink, basically.
Number one, that.
Yeah.
Number two, even while the show's going on, my brain is still constantly like, okay, the lights are still good. Okay, you know what? I think that's a bit, he's talking too loud. Maybe I'll adjust it a bit.
Yes.
Do you still have that as well? Are you still like fidgety during the show?
Yeah. So I'm. It's actually difficult, especially when you have to jump on stage when you're booked on the lineup anyway. But all the time, while someone's on stage at the gigs that I produce, I'm mostly by the soundboard because some comics have like screaming bits and some comics that like sing and some people like have act outs when they like Andy blows into the microphone at one of his bits. And literally when I see him setting up this bit, I run to the soundboard because once he does it, I've seen him do it. And the bit does really well, but people are like, it's too loud. It's
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So I run to the soundboard and make sure his mic is kind of down when he's doing that.
Yeah.
And then that actually goes back to your earlier point about like the things that we do that no one notices.
Yeah.
I'm like, in a way, you're like, that bit worked better because I would put the sound down. Otherwise,
it would hurt.
Exactly, it would hurt.
I mean, because like some things you cannot use like technology, for example, like you might be, we get a compressor on that, but like some things just don't work because like that it's such a big difference between the sound volume that we know that it's going to go from like 6 decibels to like all the way there. You're like, okay, I'm going to adjust it just down just for that, and we catch that.
Yeah,
right.
And the other thing is one of the most important things that people sometimes we get not in conflict, but we gotta like have a thing with the audience at the beginning is filling the front row.
Yeah,
it's so important, and I completely get it from the audience point of view. If we ask them to sit in the front, they feel pressured. They feel like, oh, we're gonna make fun of them. We're setting them up for embarrassment. I completely get it. But when we go on stage to start the show and we see the front row empty, and we ask anybody to get in the front, and we say, trust me, it's better for the show this way. The comic does not want, because the thing is, for almost 99% of the shows we do, we can only see the front 2 rows.
Yeah.
So even if you have 500 people behind, it doesn't matter because I feel like I'm talking to empty chairs.
Yeah.
So this is why we need people in the front, not to make fun of them, especially when, like, I personally, when I do it and I say like, hey guys, we need to fill the front row before the show starts, and I see people moving from the back to the front, I tell the comics not to talk to these people. I'm like, this is the reward is to being left alone.
Yeah. And I think that's a very fair transaction where, they've helped us out.
Exactly.
So why put them in an awkward situation? Even if you were to talk to them, be smart with the responses.
Exactly.
Don't mock them. Don't like, hey, just interact them. Let them know they're special in a way.
That's right. And obviously, there are so many gigs, like Andy's headliner last week. We had a lady who wanted attention throughout the whole show. She was heckling, but it wasn't malicious. It was just, she was a little buzzed. She just was happy and she just wanted attention. And Andy walked over towards the end. He was killing with the crowd work with her, but he came close to her to give her a high five and just tried to take the microphone. We were like, all right, lady, that's the line.
Yeah, that's the line.
She literally tried to steal it. It was very funny.
Yeah.
But like, that's the other thing also with smaller shows, we don't have bouncers.
Yeah.
Like, we are the bouncers.
We're not that buff.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So dealing with hecklers is something else because like, how do you, especially if the heckler is closer to the front, or if it was so clear that they're causing a problem, how do you remove them without, number one, not making the show just turn sour, and number two, not turning the audience against you? Or either as a comic on stage or as a producer, because the comic might be doing very well, but then I go on and try to drag the heckler
Distracts
out.
everyone.
And everyone else is stressed out. The heckler might be in all of these things. So sometimes I think we usually handle it by like, you kind of duck between the audience and very quickly just tap them on the shoulder or the leg. You're like, hey, we need to talk outside. Like, I promise you, we're not kicking you out. We're just going to talk. All of these things. And you try to take them outside and clear it up with them. And honestly, the vast majority of people are fine with that. We've had a couple of incidents where people just wanted to fight. Basically.
You're bound to have that. I mean, like, if you do 100 shows, you cannot have 100 perfect shows. You can have one person out of 100.
We had some guy in Shanghai sleeping in the front row, like sleeping, completely passed out. And when the headliner, of course, asked them to leave.
Fair, man.
Very fair. He was also a touring headliner, like a big name. And he's like, this motherfucker, like,
asleep.
And then we take them outside, and his wife goes like, oh, we just came from a flight, and we just came here just to see this guy. I'm like, well, number one, you're not seeing this guy. He's
you're
sleeping.
Asleep.
And it's like, number two, you're in the front row. Like, it's so distracting to the comic. So in general, like, not interrupting the show, like, just letting the show go very smoothly and catching things very, like, sometimes, obviously, all the time we ask people not to film because comedians are very protective of their material. So sometimes you catch someone filming. So what do you do then? Do you go and, like, very aggressively, like, turn your phone down? That's already, they're not even going to enjoy the rest of the show. So you go very politely, like, hey, can you please, we said not filming. And most people are fine. Again.
So you don't point them out, be like, let the whole world know you're filming.
No,
it's kind of like, hey, look, I get it. The temptation is there. You did it maybe for an Instagram story, whatever, but please, like, let's not do that. Because I've had many of those where I've had gigs where someone's sitting, like, let's say in the middle of the room and they're filming with their phone. And I usually give it like a 30-second buffer. And I'm like, okay, maybe an Instagram story. Or
they're
maybe
doing a boomerang or something.
One of those. Or like maybe I just want to get a little clip to send to my friend. Hey, this is a really funny thing he's doing. I'm like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But after a minute, you're like, you're filming.
You're taking the whole bit.
This is too much now, you know? And then I kind of like, then I do call it out. I obviously hope that the show producer, promoter, whatever is taking care of it, but if not, then I'm like, oh, ma'am, well, I see you're still filming. I mean, come on, like, pirate better. You know, you know, don't make it so like your face has to still, you know. So I'm trying to show her, I'm like, if you're gonna cheat, you know, do it this way. And so that way you play on that, she's like, oh, he knows.
Yeah, you give her a tripod.
Exactly. I'm like, all right, somebody over here, can we get some light? I need some light in my face, you know, right? And make it a big point then. So you have those, and because I do appreciate. I remember when I was headlining the backstage comedy show. I think it was the first night or second night, I think. Then someone in the audience had a little ruffle with someone else sitting on the side. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I remember I was at the back waiting for my turn still because all the other comics were on stage and. When I saw that happen, automatically my show producer instincts kicked in. And I'm like, all right, let me deal with it. And then you pushed me like, hey, dude, I'll take care of it. I'm like, oh. And I appreciated that because I was like, I need to focus on the show, man.
Exactly.
You know? And there's these small things that people need to realize that when you have stuff like this happen, the show needs to go on.
Right.
The audience should not be distracted.
No.
That they're like, oh, what's
going on? It's not their fault. It's the same thing with interacting with the heckler. Like a lot of the times, of course, your instinct is just scream at them or just shut the fuck up. But when you do that, everyone else is uncomfortable. It's not their fault that one person is being an idiot. And the same thing like that on your show. This guy, I don't actually
he touched him or
some guy was like asking another guy in front of him. He was a bigger guy to like just move aside or something so they can see better. And the other guy's like, oh, he touched me without my consent. It was a whole. It just so stupid.
It was kind of silly in a way when you look at it, you're like, dude, I mean, really?
I did is like I took the one guy outside and I'm like, hey, I listened to him. I wasn't listening. I just like let him ramble.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm not kicking you out. I'm just gonna move you to the other side of the room. I also told him if you're not happy with the show at the end of the show, I would refund you your money. And here's a free drink. Just shut up, basically. And I looked at him when you went up on stage and he was having a blast.
Done.
So I'm like, great.
Yeah.
So I think the general thing is like if you're an audience member, like just try to maybe not necessarily do any work, but like appreciate the production
The
side
whole thing,
of
yeah,
things.
exactly, yeah. I mean, it's really simple. We're not asking you to be like, wow, I want to say this is a great room. Oh my God, let me write a review. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that these small nuances
Yeah.
that do make the difference. And all you have to do really as an audience is just enjoy the show.
That's right.
For what
Enjoy
you're
the
here
show,
for.
and in general, just listen to instructions.
Yeah.
Like because they're not. I don't think anything is unfair that we say. Like for example, no smoking in the room. Or almost every venue in Hong Kong it doesn't allow
Yeah, you
smoking
can,
anyway.
yeah.
Like also some people just try to go like because the smoke just like you can see
You
it
can see it and
against
smell
the
it.
light,
Yeah.
right? So and some people like every time that happens, even here, people are like, oh, there's no smoke, that's vape. I'm like, I can see it. That's
Yeah.
how I saw it. There's a smoke.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's very distracting for the comic on
Vape or
stage.
not, man, it's still the textures in the air.
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think by definition, that's by physics, that's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
smoke.
that's still smoke. Yeah, exactly.
So, don't smoke, make sure your phone's on mute or whatever. Like all of these things, it's the same like a opera or a movie theater or something like that.
Same.
Like
Just be smart. Don't interrupt the show in that sense. With like, if you're gonna interrupt the show, you're gonna be part of the show.
Yeah.
There's that as well. So if you want to be part of the show, fine. Like, as a comedian, we should be skilled enough to deal with it.
Yes.
But do realize that interrupting and being part of the show are two different things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to heckle, it's part of the show, fine. But remember, you are running the risk of number one, ruining the show for not just yourself because you might get kicked out.
Yeah.
Number two, ruining for everyone else. And number three, just in general, just making the whole show terrible for the friend who came with you who's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot believe this.
We have
person
had
missed
incidents when people, like, hecklers. I think we might have touched on this story before. Like when I was doing the Saikong show about a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
lady who heckled me, her friends left the table. They were like, I wouldn't know her. We're out. And she was just left to fight for herself, and she
Yeah.
couldn't because even her friends turned on her.
Yeah.
And that's actually an example of what not to do at a comedy show.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're doing something, your friends are turning on you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really don't think it's your friends that are the problem. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that you were having the issue over here.
Yep.
So small things. I will tell you that as a comedian, when we're on stage, the best thing is that when we only have to focus on the show, but it takes a lot of the behind the scenes, and I think a lot of comedians learn it through basically the whole process of doing
Exactly.
shows, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to do comedy, it's also very smart of you to know all of these things. I'm not telling you to learn how to work the soundboard and everything,
Yeah.
but if you know it, you just basically added another little weapon to your arsenal.
That's
that,
right.
If you go to an event and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is happening, this must be because of that.
Exactly.
Like a prime example I tell comedians, whenever I see them on stage and like there's a feedback ringing and that wing, wing, that
Yeah.
thing, and the moment they pull the mic away from their mouth, thinking that will help it,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like I need to talk
Yeah.
to you. That's
Yeah.
not how it works, okay? Because it's small things where I'm like, if you know that, then you know, okay, I'm getting feedback, which means I'm too close to the speaker.
Yeah.
Get the mic closer to my mouth, away from the speaker, and we can get this sorted out.
Yeah.
And bam, problem solved.
Yeah.
But if you're not and you're looking at the soundboard saying, like, fix it, I'm like, no.
No, that's actually you.
Yeah, it's you. The physics will not work
Yeah.
that way. So again, I'm not telling you to immediately know all these things, but it's these small things if you want to try comedy.
Right.
And honestly, like I would say nobody taught us this.
No.
But you learn it as you do it.
Yeah.
And it really takes a simple curiosity and willing to kind of try it, which
Yeah.
brings you back to the whole idea of like trying new material.
Right.
Like, sometimes you have to try new material to figure out like, oh, so it turns out I'm good at this material.
Right.
I never realized I'm that
Yeah,
type of
try
comedian.
different styles too.
Yeah.
Like I went through so many phases. Like in fact, I don't actually, like 8 years in, I don't think I completely settled on a style.
Yeah.
Yet. Like I've done like one-liners, I've done like long-form stories, I've done like punch, and I'm like I like a bit of everything. And I listen to like more experienced comedians. They're like, yeah, it takes you like 15 years to quote unquote find your voice. Like,
Yeah.
So same thing for the production side. Is like, all right, this thing happened that never happened before. What's the best way to deal with it? Well, just try something and see what happens.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, go to different shows, go enjoy it. If you're doing open mics, if you're doing comedy, go try different rooms. You'll learn
Yes.
something from it.
Yeah.
But what I would tell everyone to do is that if you go to a show and the vibe's no good,
Yeah.
just don't go.
Yeah,
Just go to
agreed.
another. There are other shows to go.
Agreed.
Right? And make it a good thing, because like, remember, if you just go into a show because it's simply convenient for you, in a way you're also kind of telling the scene that I don't have no quality. Like, go
Right.
nuts and do a crappy show. I'll still be here.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves is like people not trying hard when it's so easy to like fix like things. Like when you go to a show and there's just the bar in the back is mixing drinks and it's too loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is such an easy fix.
Yeah.
Just ask the bar staff not to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you were like, oh, so, and then the MTR door closed.
Yeah. You're like, oh.
And you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Now the punchline is ruined.
Yeah, you give me
Like-
the light, I gotta get off the stage
Exactly.
and nothing's working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's just like I get that some things like a venue that has like a pillar in the middle.
Yeah.
You don't put people behind it and be like, all right, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's just people around it.
Yeah.
But like, okay, you can't do anything about this. You're not gonna take down the pillar,
Yeah.
take the whole building down because you want to have a show. But like, this is. One of my biggest pet peeves is mixers going off during the show because it's such an easy fix. Just don't mix drinks when the comedian is on stage.
Yeah.
Do it before, do it after. Ask for intermission.
Yeah.
It's not the best thing for a comedy show,
Yeah.
but I understand that you're a venue, you want to sell drinks. Just ask for intermission and we can work it out.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll put it this way. Like, if you come to a venue and just everything about the venue doesn't seem to feel good, just don't go there. Like, for example, if the blender is going on during the show, they never go back again.
Yeah.
If like you go down there and you're walking in and you're like, it smells like a toilet, just never go back there again. And just do that. Help support the scene of quality.
Way too much orange.
Exactly.
You're like,
I know the reflection in my eyes is painful. Please stop this. The chairs are not comfortable.
I mean, the flip side of that though is that like in small scenes, the comedians want to try different rooms, and we don't have I have never been to New York. You have. You can actually tell me your side of it. But like, I feel like you have the luxury in New York to like, there is a few different terrible venues. You're like, I'm never going back there again. And I still have 100 other venues to try that I can pass on or whatever. But here, if you have like, 6 venues and 3 of them are terrible, so now you're stuck with only 3.
Yeah.
Which might not be good for your development.
Sure.
So as comedians, we're also kind of stuck with like limited options.
I think it's both ways. I would say as in the audience as well, think of it this way. Like the evolution of a comedian also requires different rooms. The evolution of an audience also requires different rooms.
Yes, agreed.
So I'm not saying don't go to these rooms. I'm saying go to it, but also realize like, hey, you know what? I've reached this level where I want quality comedy.
That's right.
Then go for those shows.
That's what I completely agree with that. Like try everything.
Yeah.
Like even when we both have our own shows or produce shows, try everything else.
Yeah.
And then you judge for yourself.
Yeah.
But don't settle for the one that you are not. You're like, nah.
Yeah, it's easier as
even
next
if
door or
it's cheap,
whatever.
it's just not worth your money.
Yeah.
And us as comedians, like we want you to have the best experience you can have.
Yeah.
And you can find that, but you go just judge for yourself and try everything.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see everyone at the shows then, I guess.
Yeah. See you guys at the show.
right.
Thank you.